Hey, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our Counterpoise podcast. I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Samantha Adams, and I'm joined with another one of our co-hosts. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Malik Foster, another co-host for the Counterpoise podcast.
And we do have a third co-host. His name is Everett Stevenson. Unfortunately, Everett could not be here with us today. But today we have a good topic. We say that every week, but all of them are good. But this week we are going to be talking about flying the not so friendly skies. We're going to be talking about some of the negative encounters that folks have been having with both airlines and with TSA. So I just wanted to jump right into it. Ever since 9/11 and all of the airport changes, there have been issues that people have had, whether it be going through TSA, specifically TSA, as it relates to like searches and things like that. And so, we've kind of become accustomed to some of those types of negative circumstances, but not all, right? But since COVID, there's been an influx, a huge influx of people that have had issues with the airlines themselves, whether it be because of wearing masks, whether it be because of not being able to drink as much as you want to on the plane. There's just been so many different things. So today we wanted to kind of just talk about that. And so we're just going to dive right in. A lot of times when these things happen, it may get recorded, but it may not go viral. Like a lot of people don't necessarily know about it. Things get swept under the rug, whatever. But when it happens to famous people, right? At that point, that's when we become more hyper aware because they have such a huge following, right? So I know that there have been a number of people just in the past couple of, let's say year, that have run into some issues. Odell Beckham Jr. being one of them. Malik, do you know anything about that Odell Beckham situation at all?
Oh, yeah. So I guess they were trying to spin the narrative with Odell that he was, I guess, intoxicated or under influence of some type of drugs or something. And they were saying he was wrong, but he was actually, it turns out that he was just actually sleeping and he was disturbed. And that's kind of what happened, long story short. So they kind of tried to make it seem like he was under influence, he was unruly or something, but he was just really sleeping on a plane and they woke him up. So he was kind of groggy and drowsy. That's what it turned out to be. And it quickly went away. So that's what happens in these cases. It seems like his situation is just a microcosm of like, it's always some sort of misunderstanding, a presumption of guilt when it comes to our people instead of presumption of innocence. Like, okay, what are the facts here? Everybody just wants to put out a narrative and certain things like, oh, OBJ was unruly on a plane, he was drunk, he was under drugs, he was this, that, and the third. But people don't want to wait until the facts come out, as opposed to, we could just suppose this to when Black people are murdered by police officers. We presume that the Black officer was, the Black civilian was in the wrong. He was doing something bad. They look at like some bad history, like, oh, he stole some toys when he was 16 and it was on his record, so he must be a criminal, he deserved it. They always paint that narrative, like, put it in people's subconscious that Blacks, especially Black men, are inherently criminals and prone to crime, which isn't necessarily the case.
Right. I agree with that. And so what I wanted to add to that is, like, when you see it happening with celebrities, oftentimes, that these airlines, these flight attendants or whomever, don't know who they're talking to, don't know who they're dealing with, because I am a firm believer that if they did, they wouldn't be doing the things that they're doing, right? So like in that Odell Beckham situation, I'm pretty sure that if they knew that that was Odell Beckham Jr., like the Odell Beckham Jr., they probably would have left them alone.
But we do have a lot of international flight attendants, so that could play a role. So, and then a lot of flight attendants are women, so they may not watch the sport he plays the National Football League as much as
Right.
men do.
And
Even
that's
though there are a good segment of women that love football. Don't get me wrong, a lot of women watch football, but obviously it's more males that watch football than women. So, that could play a role in like them not knowing a particular celebrity, especially when it in the airline industry.
right. And so, but that leads me to the next person, right? Recently, Sha'Carri Richardson had a similar situation. She was on an airline. She was, I guess, felt like she was being harassed. She started recording it and they tried kicking her off the airplane. Now, for those of y'all who don't know who Sha'Carri Richardson is, Sha'Carri Richardson is an Olympic track star. Okay. She had claim to fame this past summer Olympics, if I'm not mistaken. And I think, or maybe it was a couple years ago, with it, she was slighted to win the gold for the United States. She lost miserably. But in every competition that she's had since then, she has just gotten better and better and better. She's even beat some of those women that she lost to, including the gold medalist from Jamaica, in other races. And I believe she should be slated to win. Now, one of the reasons why her name has so much buzz is just before the Olympics, they said that she had tested positive for THC, saying that she'd been smoking weed, and I guess that's a violation of the policy. And so that's how people know of Sha'Carri Richardson. But, here Sha'Carri is on an airplane and she's recording on her phone. And they're telling her she needs to stop recording and all this other stuff. And they try to kick her off the plane. The thing about recording in public, though, is like you should be able to record in public unless there's some sort of a policy in place with that, in that case, airline that says that you can't do it. Or if you're in a store or something like that. Otherwise, there's no expectation of privacy on the street, right? So, it's interesting that here she is recording on her own phone, doing what she's doing. And they want to try to put her off the plane. They're talking to her all crazy, like she's a child. And,
Was that during takeoff or not? Because I wasn't sure when I reviewed the video. Because I know, like, during takeoff, I could have well, let me let you finish, and then I'll.
Yeah, have your phone. No, you can have your phone out. It doesn't even have to be turned off anymore, right? It can be on airplane mode. So, it's one thing if it was one of those that we was talking about back in the day when you can't be on your phone. She's recording. It's not like she was talking on a telephone. And so, here she was recording and they just start giving her a hard time. And so I think it's interesting to that's an interesting point a good point that you make, Malik, because if she's violating the policy, then we're talking about something totally different, right? You shouldn't be allowed to violate policy just because you're famous or something.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, well, when I watched the video, it didn't seem to. I think she escalated the situation when I listened to it initially. She kind of escalated and made it bigger than what it was. I'm not saying that she's wrong in this situation, unless we don't know all the facts, because as attorneys we always like, hey, we need to know all the facts. But I don't know if whether it was during takeoff, like were they about to prepare for takeoff? Because obviously the way the plane seemed to me, the way the video seemed to me, it was either they were about to take off or they were already in the air. So it had to be one of those. And I'm most likely thinking they're about to take off soon. Because they may want her to put her phone down a little bit because they're about to take off. Sometimes they'll ask that nicely. But the guy didn't seem too bad, but I understand where she's coming from. Like, especially when he was asking her to stop recording, she felt like he was exercising too much control over her. And Sha'Carri, I might get a little bit of trouble when I say this, but sometimes I feel like I think Black people sometimes we don't know how to handle the situations, because sometimes we don't really have that self-awareness that we're really in a system that's really out to get us. Like we're at a disadvantage constantly, consistently. So even if you're right in this little situation, it's better if you just comply and just diffuse the situation, have a sort of a pacifist attitude towards that particular situation. Like, you have to learn how to pick and choose your battles. Because was that really a battle worth fighting? All you had to do is say, okay, whatever, I'll put it away, right? I'll stop doing that. But she escalated it and turned it into a bigger thing because of, her personality type, right? And her demeanor. And I feel like, even if she is right, other people, if certain things go to court, or it escalates further into a lawsuit or something, they're going to look at her a type of way because of her demeanor and the way she behaved in that video. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, Sam,
I
but
do.
like, I'm not saying that she's wrong, but it's like the way you act, the way you present yourself, your image is very important. And I think more Black people, Black women, everybody needs to be more self-aware about it, but especially Black women. They already have that stereotype that she was perpetuating in that video, like loud, unruly, stuff like that, like not cooperative. So, that doesn't help her cause, even if she is right in this case. I'm not sure, based off of like not knowing the context of what was going on with the plane.
So I agree with you to a degree, but I have pushback. So I agree that, you don't got to go to every fight you're invited to, right? And this is for those situations. However, I don't think that you need to, I think that a lot of times when we look at these situations, we look at the quote unquote bad actor. In this case, the quote unquote bad actor would have been Sha'Carri Richardson. And the reason why I say is we often look at her response and her reactions because she's held to a different standard. But the thing about it is, it's very clear where these flight attendants are held accountable for the way that they treat and talk to the patrons of that airline. And I say that because a lot of times you can not a lot of times, but it's easy to come across a flight attendant who may have been let's say maybe they're having a bad day. Let's say they just got finished dealing with another difficult patron, whatever it is, and they frustrations out on the next person. Right. And so then it becomes this big thing. Like, it's like I come up, I'm asking you for help, and now you're yelling at me. Like, why are you yelling at me? I just want to know, how long is my flight delayed? Or I just want to know, can I check my bag here because it's a little big? Or I got all the way through security and up here before anybody told me I needed to check my bag, or I can't check this bag. This bag has vital things inside of it, such as medications and things of that nature. Like, and the way that they treat people sometimes is really not right. And so it's like every action has a reaction. And when you sit there talking to people all crazy, I don't care if you're in your job. Like, you don't need to talk to people crazy all the time, not unless they like really, truly, and honestly ask for it and deserve it, right? And so I say that because that happens a lot. I'm going to skip over the next celebrity and just, tie it into regular people. Well, no, I'm not going to skip over him. I'm going to bring it back. So another celebrity that I saw get kicked off of a plane was DJ Drama. Like, you see this stuff happening all the time. DJ Drama, this is a while ago. I think it was in the summer. DJ Drama, he was on, I think, an American Airlines or United, one of the two. And he was on the plane. He was sitting there minding his business. And they told him he had to get off the plane. I think they tried to make it about his bag or something being too big. But it was like, why did he have to get off the plane for that? Right. And so it was just really kind of ridiculous. It was a misunderstanding. They were able to iron the whole thing out, but it should have never got to that level. You know what I'm saying? Like, why did he get kicked off? Like, you do on the flip side, you have people that get on the airplane and are straight wilding out, right? Like the belligerent people who are like trying to punch other people in the face or, hit people and cause harm to other people. Yeah, they probably should be removed. But if you have somebody like Odell Beckham who's sleeping, or Sha'Carri Richardson who's sitting there minding her business, or DJ Drama who's sitting there chilling, looking out the window, like, leave them alone. They're not bothering anybody. You know what I'm saying? But as for regular people, there was one woman, I think she had like her flight was delayed or canceled or something. And they had already called the police on this woman. And the woman got kicked off the flight. And I can't remember if she was removed from the airport. But that kind of stuff has been happening left and right, where you have random innocent people who literally just coming up looking for assistance. And then the police get called. And I think that that's really strange that people are doing that, but it's happening. It's happening left and right.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you had on DJ Drama's situation. That's why I brought up the whole point of self-awareness. It's like, okay, if the system was in our favor, I feel like that argument, that the shouting, the attitude, that'd be fine, right? In response to situations where you're in the right and they're in the wrong, but because we're in this system of where it's racism throughout every area of activity, and you just don't know who's subconsciously going to be racist to you or just blatantly be racist to you. You just have to have that self-awareness, because I'm not saying there's racism everywhere. Well, there is racism everywhere, but not everybody and every person or every business is racist. But you have to expect there may be some throughout, because this country was founded and rooted in oppression and racism, so, and it still holds true to this day. We see it countless times, even with all areas of activity, you name it, there's some sort of racist practice somewhere. So that's why I feel like self-awareness is key in these situations. And I think some of the Black celebrities, a lot of them feel like they're living in a world that's not a part of ours because of their endorsements, because of the people that finance them and back them. Because they're not Black, they feel like these people are putting a lot of money in my pocket, which it really isn't that much, but it's a good amount of money. But it's not like always top tier money. Like not every Black person's like a billionaire, right? A lot of those billionaires, they're doing certain things, but a lot of these millionaires, these artists, these athletes, yeah, once your career's over, then what? Are they still going to be backing you, and are you still going to get that support? And as you can see, even when you're in the top of your career, Chris Brown, Sha'Carri, like you said, all these allegations against you, even if you do something wrong, they're not going to support you, right? It's
Right.
the people, your people, Black people that are gonna try to cape for you and stuff like that. So I think the more celebrities need to have self-awareness when it comes to, when they're just out in their day-to-day public stuff, because they can be just like us. You're just a rich Negro, right? For lack of better terms.
Yeah. I mean, and the sad thing is the rate that it happens. Hold on.
Yeah, I have to drink some too.
Yeah, at the rate that it's happening, it's crazy. Especially too, because you can record everything now, right? Like the awareness of anything that happens in our society nowadays is all because you can record it. Shout out to the person who recorded the beating of Rodney King. And the reason why I say that is because ever since then, everything gets recorded. If you can catch it, they're catching it. You know what I mean? And so I think it's important.
But even with this day and age of recordings and video, we can still see the blatant racism. Like even when we have it on video, it's like there's still like blatant racist practices throughout our judicial system, the legislative process, everything that can result in change, economics, all this kind of stuff. I mean, they're trying to right wrongs with symbolic gestures mostly, but we still have a long way to go when it comes to, just the day-to-day treatment. We still need that bill, the anti-Black bill, all this. We had the anti-Asian bill.
I hate bill.
Excuse me, sir?
Black bill, the anti-Black hate bill.
Yeah, anti-Black hate. Yeah, exactly. Because there's a lot of anti-Black hatred in this country for unjust reasons. Black people haven't done anything to anybody as a group except try to, achieve justice. If anything, we've helped every group in multiple areas. And if it wasn't for Black people in this country wouldn't be as strong as it is, would not be one of the most powerful nations in the world. So, I think we're underappreciated in this country. It's not like they just want to give us some money to go somewhere else. And other countries don't want us either. So we've helped build this country. This is our country as well. So
also tried to leave once upon a time, remember?
well, they wanted us to go, but like this is our country. They want
Marcus Garvey movement. Like remember, he had the whole movement of going back to Africa, And when we tried to do that, he discredited all of those people. I mean, he discredited Marcus Garvey because they didn't really want us to go back. Like they don't want us here, but they want our money. And then because the money that we generate, not just what we spend, but what we generate, right? Whether it be from stemming back to slavery, from what we generated from cotton, you know what I mean? Black people are the reason why the wealth moves the way that it does.
No, actually, Sam, I think they do. You know, the truth is, I think they want Black people to remain on the bottom. That's why they don't want to give us justice.
I'll
That's
agree.
why they don't want us to, have a fair shake, because when things are fair, Black people will be winning more. And if Black people are winning more, then that means other groups, and specifically white people, would be losing more. So when things are fair, there'll be a level playing field, and Black people would have more of the pie, more of the economic pie, and that can't happen because right now we don't.
Yeah.
Especially in this country. It's like I was listening to an interview with Don Peebles, and when it comes to real estate and wealth, he was saying that it's like 98% is captured by white men, and all the other groups are fighting for like this 2% in this country. And and there's a good economic opportunity for Black people, especially from a capital standpoint, for businesses to work with Black people as far as that goes. And he's done really well as a real estate mogul and entrepreneur. So
Black people are the largest consumers in this country. So, a lot of the things that we have in this country spin off of the backs of Black people, whether it be because, we might be at the bottom, may earn the least, spend the most, right? And so our economic system is in this country is based off of how much money people spend. What they earn matters, but how much they spend matters more. And that's why there's such an issue with inflation, right? Inflation wouldn't be as big of a deal if pay increases happened as quickly as inflation, and they happened in a way that would accommodate inflation. Like you can go to the grocery store today and spend freaking literally $10 on eggs. That's out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? That's completely out of pocket. $10 on eggs, and so I think that that right there is also, part of the problem. But one of the things I wanted to kind of touch bases on, which we didn't get too heavily into, was the TSA as it relates to this. Like, everybody goes, like I started off, talking about, how after 9/11, TSA was kind of an issue for some people. And the reason was because when 9/11 happened, so first 9/11 happened, you guys all better know about what happened on 9/11. In case you don't, a bunch of people hijacked 3 airplanes, all coming out of Boston, Massachusetts. 2 of them were flown into the Twin Towers in New York at the New York World Trade Center. And the third one was on its way. No, sorry, 4 planes. One was flown into the Pentagon in DC. And then the 4th one was on its way somewhere, probably the White House, and the people got themselves together, crashed the plane, and all perished. So who knows how many people's lives got saved when that happened, but a lot of people also perished, which was really, really, really sad. Then fast forward, I can't remember if it was a year or so later, there was another guy who tried to blow up a plane. He had a bomb, I think it was in his underwear. And then somebody else had a bomb in his shoes. So there were definitely times where people were trying to circumvent that process so that they can create the most amount of harm and harmful terrorist acts against the country by using airplanes. So of course, as a precaution, security at airports got tighter, much, much tighter, far more stringent to keep people safe, which I'm not mad at. But what I'm talking about is when TSA goes a little too far, right? And so, anybody that's flown knows you go through, if they want you to go off to the side so they can do extra search, and you got to go off to the side so they can do an extra search. Well, I know recently, Gilly the King, he was asked to step over to the side so they can do some extra searching. And, the officer is searching, and his cousin Wallow. For those of y'all don't know, Gillie King is a rapper from back in the day, and he now has his own podcast. It's called $1 Million Worth of Game. It's him and his cousin Wallow. So Wallow's sitting there waiting for him, but he's recording it, and the TS agent is searching Gillie. And when he's searching him, he's all up in his business, all grabbing all on his man parts. Like, it was a little invasive, yes. And so it's like, at what point are they crossing the line? Where does safety meet violation? You know what I'm saying? And that right there is really just a question. I don't think anybody has the answer, but I do.
But was the Gillie situation, was it something on his person, or is it his bag?
It was his person that they were searching, because he had a situation where they needed to search his bag, but that was not as evasive as when they were searching his person. So
it was both. Okay.
The bag situation, I think, happened another time, because they travel often. But when they searched his person recently, that's when they were like all in his business. And it was like, yo, y'all are doing just a little bit too much. I mean, I get it, but y'all got to chill a little bit.
Yeah. So I feel like that is invasive, but I mean, I guess you can kind of manage it if it is for safety, and if he did trip the sensors, but the issue here is, is there any bias with TSA and stuff like that towards Black folks specifically? And I guess including, I don't think celebrities, they just pull out, because you would think, rich Black people would get a little bit better treatment. But I think a lot of Black celebrities need to learn that they're just rich Black people. You're still prone to a lot of injustices. I think even an NBA player was harassed, I think, coming from the airport and trying to make his way home. He was in a nice car. They're like, why are you driving this car? He's like, well, I'm a basketball player. They're like, I don't care. So that was a big, I forgot what team that was. It's escaping me. But he played for, it was some team. I forgot the team, but it was an NBA player. So that was a situation that arose. So there is that bias, like, oh, he must be doing something. Because obviously, if it's a white person, they probably would just give him a pad, not check as thoroughly. But sometimes you never know. So yeah. I think.
But you're also dealing with the races. I don't think the TSA as a whole is like some racist entity.
Yeah, I think it depends on the individuals, because a lot of people, well, I don't know about the airports you've been to. Here, I'll tell a little bit about my personal experience. Most of the airports I've been to, it's a lot of immigrants, a lot of Black people working at airports. It's not as many white people as the workers in security force. So that's the thing I've noticed. Like, when it comes to security and when you want to show dominance, they try to hire non-whites to do it.
I think it also too depends on what part of the country you're in, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true too. But as far as the East Coast goes, yeah, and even the West Coast, like a little bit of like California, a little bit of the West Coast as well.
I'm in Wisconsin. Chances are everybody.
Yeah, you might not see as much. Yeah, you might. Yeah, true. But obviously, where the most of the populated areas are, where the groups are diverse, that's what I've tended to see, at least up and down the East Coast and the South and a little bit of the West Coast.
Yeah. So another person that had a similar experience with TSA was Angela Rye. For those of y'all that don't know who Angela Rye is a CNN correspondent. She's not an anchor, but she's a correspondent. She also has worked with the national. She's a mentee of Maxine Waters, who is also a senator. And so she's a very smart, very beautiful woman, and she knows what she's talking about. And so one time she was traveling and she got pulled to do the extra search, and they were all in her business too. And she felt, she was very vocal about it after that. She talked about how violated she felt. And I think that a lot of times people have to really recognize the fact that when you're searching, especially women, I mean, it's not to say that men don't feel violated, right? But women are incredibly sensitive about that kind of stuff. And so, you know, she was, if she wasn't crying, she was holding back the tears while she was being searched because of the way that she was being rubbed on. You know what I'm saying? And I think, let me not call it rubbed on, the way that she was being searched. Let me not be that way. Because, you know, especially too when you know you don't have anything going on and somebody is literally violating you, you're like, yo, you're doing too much. That's the automatic default attitude that you're gonna have. Like, you're doing too much because I know I don't have anything. But at the same time, in the interest of safety, you know what I'm saying? And the greater good, sometimes you gotta kind of go through these things. And it's incredibly frustrating to watch and to have to experience to be violated in that way, you know? And so yeah, she was another person. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that, Malik?
Um, Not really. I want to add into it. I'll probably add more once we talk about potential solutions when it comes to that situation. I just agree with you on, like, when it comes to some of these violations, I believe women would be more sensitive to it. So I definitely agree with that. Yeah. So I agree with what you were saying. I don't really have any extra words to add on it.
Yeah, we can just go ahead and dive on into the potential solutions.
Okay. Yeah, so as far as potential solutions go, I was thinking, like, obviously political, right? We got to get more legislation to protect us when these industries are exhibiting anti-black hatred, anti-blackness. They have to pay financially or any other type of punishments that are suitable and according to the legislation that is set forth, because other groups have their bills, so we need to have ours as well. So I think political legislation is one of the potential solutions that we can have. And then economics, right? If we build up our communities and our economic game, we would have the power to influence some of these lawmakers and decision makers, so we can, get the results that we want. Because politics, at the end of the day, these people have their donors and people who back them. That's who they cater to first. So even though we're a good voting bloc for the Democrats, they don't cater to us as much because of the backing is a little lacking there, and we don't utilize the power that we do have appropriately. So I think also having that self-awareness on knowing the situations and knowing the positions that we're in could definitely help in a lot of situations as well.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. The only thing I would really add to it is also have more continuity with policies, right? Like, you'll go on one airline, like I've had this happen to me before. I went to the check-in, I asked them, hey, is my carry-on bag too big? They said, no, you should be perfectly fine. Is it too heavy? Nope, you should be perfectly fine. Okay, cool. Go through TSA with my bag, everything's cool. Get to the gate, everything. Go, and I double checked at the gate. Hey, is my bag too big? Nope, you're good. When I go to get on the airplane, they stop me and like, your bag is too big. And it was like, you're the third person. Are you sure? They're like, yeah, this violates the guidelines, yada, 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 yada. Well, if that violates the guidelines, how did I just go by two other people that work for the same airline that told me otherwise? And so there has to be a continuity with the training. And so I say that to say that also could be an issue when dealing with and interacting with people on the plane, right? So there has to be one policy, and it has to be available for everybody to be able to see, whether it be on the internet or wherever, so that nobody can say, I didn't know. It was right. Saying, I'm sorry, things keep on trying to stab me in the eyeball. And then, so continuity and policy, better training, making sure everybody is effectively trained and everybody knows what the policies are, and how to treat people. And if you find that somebody is not treating you the same way and you believe it's because you're Black or whatever, then you really got to do what you got to do as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
So that I would add. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna add like that, like, look, guys, we can't really, you can't get rid of prejudice or, if somebody wants to be racist, but you can develop consequences and punishments for it. So that like a deterrent, right? So that's what we really need. Like we just need to deter this behavior with consequences. And right now it seems like there's little to no consequences for mistreating and oppressing Black people in every industry. And I know we're highlighting the airline industry today because of several examples, but yeah. So
Yeah.
I would like to move on to the Black Business of the Month, which is Miami Urban Contemporary Experience, the acronym MUSE, MUCE. So MUSE brings ideas to life with art. So it's like a exhibit where you can display all forms of art, for production uses, and it's like an art gallery as well. They have all different kinds of things like that. So that's the Black Business of the Month. Be sure to check them out. They're in the Miami, Florida area, Miami-Dade County area. So be sure to check them out if you're ever in Miami. And the Black Book of the Month is the Spook that what is it called? Hold on, I got it right here. Yeah, The Spook Who Sat by the Door, African American Life Series by Sam Greenlee, sorry, by Sam Greenlee. I think it's an excellent book. You should definitely check it out. Um, I know we're kind of taking up the slack for our co-host today on some of these things, but that's the Black Business and the Black Book of the Month. So be sure to check those out. Y'all see a slideshow as well for more information as well.
Right. And then the motivational quote I have is by somebody by the name of Lisa Phipps from something called Starfish. And it says, the best way to be understood is to learn and speak someone else's language. And I thought that was good because here oftentimes when you have a discourse, even here, when you're talking about versus the people, whether you're talking about famous people, regular lay people, or whatever, whether you're talking about TSA or the airline, everybody's saying something different. And oftentimes when, emotions start to fly, you can't hear what the other person is saying. And so in order to really, that's one of the reasons why I talked about having continuity in policy, was because when everybody is on one accord, it's a lot easier to be able to get through things. Like right after 9/11, people may have had a hard time with TSA, but overall, everybody was like, okay, I understand. So there was no big deal. Just like when COVID happened, it was like overall, lots of people, even if they didn't like to wear a mask, they understood why they had to. So they did. And they, did whatever they had to do just to go along to get along. And in part, that's because they understood, regardless if they liked it or not. And so I think that's what I mean about understanding somebody else's language. And so I think that it's important that we make sure that we try to hear each other, we listen to each other, and we are expressive to one another about how we feel and where we stand about certain things, but we don't have to be mean and rude and all that other kind of stuff. So with that, that's going to go ahead and conclude our Counterpoise podcast for the day. We thank you all so very much for tuning in with us. Our socials are all right there at the end. And please feel free. If you ever have an idea or you want to be on the show, excuse me, Sheena was over here tapping me. You ever want to be on the show, please feel free to go ahead and comment. Come on, Sheena, up. Apparently he wants to say goodbye.
Hey, what's up, Gino?
You guys ever want to be on the show, if you have any topics or anything that you want to go ahead and talk about, please feel free to go ahead and inbox us. Let us know. We can make that happen. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, because you can find us on IG, YouTube, and Facebook. Again, our socials are there at the end. And yeah, y'all just go ahead and be good to one another. Malik, did you have anything else?
No, I think you said everything. I will see you guys on Wednesday for our What's Up Wednesday on Instagram. So be sure to check that out as well.
I'll be at 8:30-ish p.m.
Right.
So, thanks.
All right, guys.